Hi everyone, my name is Jess from Blooming Solitude, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a walkthrough on this illustration that I've created. It's a chrysanthemum with two butterflies sitting on top, and my plan for this artwork is to actually make a sticker. So I created this or designed this illustration so that it could be made into a sticker or a keyring or any other kind of product that I want to make. And I thought it would be really nice to make a pretty flower with some butterflies on it. So to start with, I designed my line art and my illustration in Procreate. I like to do this because I find it much easier to edit and scrub out my mistakes and get the artwork or the line art to look exactly how I want it to look. For the coloured pencil base, I start with just a base layer and then I slowly build up the layers on top of that. And sometimes the first few layers can always look a bit funky. It's one of those things where you gotta trust the process. So I start with my base layers, which is just a pretty flat colour, and then I slowly blend them with white pencil or another light coloured pencil, and then I just continue blending and adding more detail and adding some shading, some darker colours and some reds. So here I'm just blending with some yellow ochre, I think this colour is, and just blending the graininess away. I like to have smooth blended textures on my artwork, and I'm not doing it with too heavy a hand. It's quite a light touch, and it's mainly just to blend that graininess away. And then I add some black. I like using black in my artwork, and it helps just to define some edges and create a bit more form, which is what I like to have in my artwork. And then I keep blending it with a white pencil. I like to use a light pencil or a white pencil to do my blending rather than a special blending pencil. I find that a lot of the blending pencils, they have quite a waxy surface, and they add a bit, they deposit like a waxy kind of texture to the artwork, which I'm not really too fond of. I find when I blend with a coloured pencil, I just get a much smoother result. But in saying that, I do love the Prismacolor blender pencil the best. I generally use that one when I have layered too much of my white pencil, and then the blender from Prismacolor just helps to eliminate some of the waxiness that has been deposited on the page. So sometimes I do flick between using a blender pencil and my white or light coloured pencils to blend. some red tones, and some more yellows as well, oranges, just to bring out the tones of the butterfly wings. I'm currently looking at Pinterest photos of these butterflies so that I can get an idea of what they should look like. I don't follow them exactly. I like to also make it up as I go along, but it's nice to look at the references to get an idea of what it should look like compared to what your mind thinks it should look like. And I just keep adding more blacks and dark colours to add that form and highlight the wing lines, create some form. I just love how the blending just takes away all those little grainy bits. I find it's the most satisfying part of making art with coloured pencils. And then I like to go in and add some texture spots with my Posca pen in white. It's the 7mm or 0.7mm size. And I just add some little sparkles to the wings. I just like the way this looks. There's no real reason to add it, I just like it. Now I start on to the next butterfly, which is basically repeating the same steps as before. I really hope you like this video so far. If you do, I'd love it if you like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and I'm only a small channel, so I really appreciate it when people show their appreciation as well. I just carry on with the base layers, adding just a flat orange to this section and then blending it with a white pencil. It sets the foundation layers for adding more details on top. I find the more of a base layer you have, the easier it is to blend later on as well. pencils I'm using are Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils. I often use a mixture of Caran d'Ache, Faber-Castell Polychromos and Prismacolor. I use them all interchangeably in my designs. They all have their purpose, and they all work so beautifully together. But for this piece I decided just to use my Caran d'Ache pencils. I also love using the Caran d'Ache blacks and the whites the most. I bulk up on these two colours or shades. The Caran d'Ache black pencils are so opaque and they don't have a sheen or a waxy bloom when you use them quite heavily. I think Prismacolor gives you quite a waxy, shiny surface when you use them. But I found the Caran d'Ache are just so beautifully matte. So I normally use the black Caran d'Ache pencils when I'm doing black backgrounds. And I'll stockpile these in like bulks of 10. And same with the white, because the white's so opaque and you can use the white over really dark colours and you can still see it. Whereas I found some of the other brands, they don't work as well over dark colours. So I'm just adding some yellow and reds to bring out the vibrancy of the wings. I like to do it in quite light pressure, and it's more like just a tinting the surface. Just to create a bit of a hue, and they turned out so beautifully. I'm really proud of how the butterflies have turned out, and now it's time to move on to the flowers. So the flowers are a rinse and repeat. For each flower I've pretty much done the same process. I do a flat foundation layer and then I slowly build up the colours to create form. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go with these flowers, with what colour range I wanted. I knew I wanted something in the pinks and purples, but I thought I'd just see how I go and see how it comes out. So I made some variations in the petals, as you'll see throughout the rest of the video. I tried to make some petals more in the pinky range and some in the purple range, just to give some interest and variation in it. And I also love to create new layers with fluoro colours. So later on you'll see that I use fluoro pink and fluoro orange as a top layer over my artwork, and I find it just brings out a really beautiful warmth to the artwork, and you'll see when we get to that stage. So I'm just adding some pinks to the shadowy areas of this petal. And I've added some warmer tones where the shadow areas are as well. I just felt like it looked really nice when I did this. There's no real reason behind it. And that's the best thing about making art, is you can make it however you like. So I went around the flower and I picked petals opposite, well, not really opposite, but not next to each other to start on next, because I didn't want to create flowers or petals the same way and then slowly change how I did it as I went around. So what I did was I would pick separated petals and work on those, and then slowly work around the rest of them until they were all done, and choosing different colours for each of the petals. Not sure if that made any sense. But basically I tried to avoid going one petal next to the other petal and then to the next petal and then to the next petal. I like to pick random petals to colour in to avoid repetitive colours coming through. And I just use a makeup brush to brush away any pencil dust and bits and pieces. I find if I use my hand, it typically smudges the artwork. I don't know if it's just my hands or if it's the paper, but I find when I use a makeup brush, I don't have any of that problem. So this one's just a Revlon makeup brush, just a standard one that you'd find at Priceline or somewhere where they sell makeup. It's nice and soft, so it helps brush away really fine dust without messing up your artwork. just adding in some shadows where the petals form and meet. And then I blend it out. And I just repeat the process on these petals that I've done already. And here I'm using the Prismacolor Blender pencil to try and flatten out some of the blending that I made on that petal. I think I piled up some too much white blending on there, so I'm just using the Prismacolor blending tool to kind of flatten it out so that I can add some more layers on top. Like I said before, the Blender pencil by Prismacolor is really good at restoring some layers for you and helps blend out the colors a bit. And here I'm just adding some more highlighted areas on this bottom petal here. I feel like it just needs some more lightening up, so I just add some more whiteness in there. And I'm just adding some more blending to this petal here as well. This artwork took about, I think it was 5 hours to create. I sat down and made it over several weekends. And yeah, the recording that I did, because I'm pretty sure I recorded the whole start to finish of this piece. And yeah, that took about 5 hours of camera footage. So I've managed to get it down to about an hour's worth. Here I'm just outlining the petals a bit more, creating a more defined edge. And I wanted this petal to be a bit darker so that it didn't blend in with the petal above it. And I'm also using some odorless solvent to blend out the more stubborn pencil lines. Sometimes when I go over it with my blending pencils and my white pencils, it doesn't quite blend out the way I hope. So sometimes I will use the odorless solvent just to blend it out slightly to get the result that I want. I don't use it a lot, but typically only on the really stubborn ones that just don't want to blend for you. Have to be so careful with using the odorless solvent with it not taking the bottom layers off, because sometimes if you use too much it might actually undo the blending layers from underneath. So very sparingly and with a very gentle touch. And then I just go over the top again with my blender pencil, my white pencil. I do spend a lot of time blending my artwork out. I feel like it's a compulsion. I just love the blending part of colored pencils. Sometimes I try not to blend it too much, but I just can't help myself. I just defined the edges of these petals as well with a dark reddish purple colour. I find when I'm making artwork for clip art purposes, to make stickers and things with, I like to have quite a defined edge in my artwork. I find it's really helpful to have that when you get to the editing stage and removing the background from your artwork. It's just much easier to work around when you've got that dark edge for an outline. Plus I also really like it as an artistic touch. I really love a line look with my artwork. I'm just adding some more shadows and more details. I find adding the outline just helps to contain the illustration as well. Really helps to define those petals separated from the background. here I was mentioning before about running over my artwork with a fluoro colour. I typically use like the fluoro pink, orange and yellow from Prismacolor. They just have really vibrant neon colours in their range, and I go over the top just like a tint layer with a very soft touch, and it just brings out a really beautiful vibrancy to the petals. I've used this technique in most of my artwork, and it's so subtle that you would never know that it was fluoro colours used, but it just gives such a nice result, and I really love using the neon colours as like an overlay to my artwork. It just gives that interesting feeling to it. And then I like to just define some of the darkest edges with my black pencil, just to really show those shadows. I know people say that you shouldn't use black in your artwork, but I just love the way it looks when I use it in mine. I don't feel like I overuse it, maybe I do, but I just really love how it turns out when I use the black. It's just one of my favourite parts, is adding lots of black. And then I make a start on the other petals once I've done the details of the others. Sometimes I will go do a small section from base to detailed stages, just so that I can see if I'm on the right track and if that's how I want it to look for the rest of the artwork. So now I will go ahead and finish all the other petals off in the same style. starting to add a lot more darker purples for the petals in the background. I want them to be darker because they're behind the butterflies, and I just wanted those petals to be a bit more in the background and have some depth to them. colours is that deep magenta purple colour. So beautiful. And then I just add some more highlights to some of the areas where light would touch. Now it's time for the center. All the petals are done, and I think I still give them a bit of a tint layer coming soon. But yes, now I'm working on the center and it's almost finished. I'm just adding some more black details in there where the petals meet the center. And now I'm just going over the whole thing and just adding some more vibrancy and warmth to it all. So I'm using a yellow Caran d'Ache pencil for this at the moment, and it just adds a really nice sun-kissed touch. my Posca pen here, I like to add the little dots and just smooth it out with my finger while it's still wet. This kind of helps to stop like sudden ends on the pencil, or on the pen, sorry, and just smooths it out to be a gradual line rather than a straight line. I love how the sparkles look when I add them on there. It just looks really delicate and pretty looking, and matches the butterflies as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you like this video, and if it helps you, please let me know in the comments. And if you'd like me to make any more like this with a voiceover, let me know, and I'll have another go at doing it in my next one.